Do. Hello and hello and welcome to this lesson today. It's 3 o'clock and this is the AM Language YouTube channel. Welcome to the lesson. Hope everyone is doing well. Where is... No, I don't have my water near me. Leondina says, hi, Richard. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Leondina. Welcome to today's lesson. Roberto says, good afternoon, Richie. Welcome to today's lesson, Roberto. Buon pomeriggio. Thank you for joining. And Arena F says, hi. Hello, Arena F. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's lesson. Thank you for joining. I hope everyone's having a good day. As always, if you are watching now or later, make sure you follow the lesson in the live chat section, because that is where the action happens. And that is how you can follow the lesson. If this is your first time, make sure you subscribe and always like the video. In today's lesson, defining relative clauses. The aim is for us to actually develop fluency really at the end, because I would like to have a conversation. However, we are going to start off with a little bit of accuracy and then we're going to develop. Good afternoon, leader. Buenos dias and welcome to today's lesson. Thank you for joining. I hope all is well in Patagonia. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to start off with a bit of accuracy, making sure that we can use them correctly, but then we can develop fluency. Leodina says, yesterday I saw Joker without willing to justify crimes. I almost felt sympathy for him for the background of his origin. Now, that is a really interesting comment, Leondina. The reason why it's interesting is because it has potential philosophical questions. Good afternoon, Evelina. It has some really interesting, it creates some really interesting philosophical questions about how you look at people and how you might judge people. So that raises some interesting comments. That raises some interesting philosophical questions. If you know the background to someone who becomes the bad guy, for instance, if you know their background, if you know their story, does that change the way you look at them? And that depends on what type of philosophy and theology you end up looking at as well. But it's a very interesting comment. So thank you very much, Leondina. Evelina, good afternoon. Buon pomeriggio. Welcome to today's lesson. Thank you for joining. So let's get into it, and we can look at some defining relative clauses. So the first thing I'm going to ask you guys is, let's actually look at this, okay? But one of the most important things we need to look at is really and truly the pronouns, because that's what we're looking at, okay? We need to first look at why are we using the defining relative clause, and what is a relative clause? So let's work backwards. Let's start off by making sure we all know what we mean by the pronoun in relative clauses, okay? Now, first of all, we need to think of pronouns. Now, I'm going to give you a list of pronouns, and we need to go from there. Noella, good afternoon. Welcome to today's lesson. So I'm going to break this up into two sections. So the first section is this. You have three categories, okay? Your A, which is subject. B, which is object, C, and sorry, and C, which is possessive. Now, your list of now your list of pronouns are as follows at this stage. 1, who. 2, that. 3, which. 4, whom. 5, where. 6, when. 7, why. 8, whose. Now, what you guys need to do is you need to link 1 to 8 to their categories A, B, and C. Now, I'm going to give you an example for each one, which should help you. So, if we're looking at A, which is a subject, I can say that one answer that will work would be who, for example. If I want to pick an example for B, okay, which is an object in the sentence, potentially, I could go with the object of my sentence. I can also, funnily enough, go with who. That is possible. So in this case, there's more than one correct answer. And finally, for possessive, C, I would go with whose. So as you can see, there's a possibility that in some cases, some of these answers can go into 2 different categories. In some cases, it's only one category. You notice that I haven't gone with any personal ones like him or her. But for now, we're just looking at the options over here. So you've got possessive, you've got object, and you've got subject. Can you guys try and link the others to subject, object, and possessive? Let's see what you know. Don't worry if you don't know, because I will then tell you the answers. But let's see what you currently know, because this can help when we're looking at the subject of our sentence, the object of our sentence, and if we are talking about a possessive element. That is difficult. It is difficult. I agree, which is why I asked the question. So let's see how you guys get on, and then I'll let you guys know what the answers are going to be, because I'll give you some example sentences. Okay. I mean, this is perhaps something that if you don't necessarily know, it's okay to a degree. But if you do know, it means you can be a bit more accurate. Okay, so cool. So we've got a leader saying subject is 1, 2, object 1, 2, 3, 4, possessive 4 and 8. Not sure where. Okay, but she says she doesn't know where, when, and why. Okay, Leondina, thank you very much for your answers. Okay, let me tell you what the answers are, because I think that's a good starting point. So, wow, let's see what Roberta's come out with. Who is a subject? That is also a subject, and it can also be an object. Wow, okay, some really interesting answers. Let's see. So, subject. Your options for a subject are quite limited. You're not going to have that many, and I'm going to show you why. Okay, so if you're talking about a person, for example, you can have who and you can have that. And if you're talking about a thing, okay, then you can also use things like a which and that. Okay, so those are the sort of examples we can use when we're talking about a subject. When we are looking at an object of the sentence, okay, object, you've got a little bit more. So again, if you're talking about a person, you can have following. Obviously, you can have who, you can have whom, and you can have that. That's not going to change. If you're going to talk about a thing, okay, which is a possibility, we can have which and that. If you want to talk about a place, because don't forget, places are often going to be the subject, the object, sorry, then you can have where. If you go to talk about time, time is going to be the object of your sentence, then that's going to be when. And if you're going to have a reason, well, that's going to be why. Okay, so make a note of these as I write them down. It will help. And finally, possessive, it doesn't matter if it's a personal thing, it's going to be whose. Person, whose, thing. Okay, so make a note of these. I don't expect you guys to know these off by heart, but it helps when you have these in these categories. It can just tighten up little things. So let's have a little look at some sentences. So I'm going to go first with this example. Children who hate chocolate are uncommon. As you can see, who comes at the start and children who. So in this case, who, which is talking about the children, okay, equals the subject of our sentence. Look where it is. It's right at the start of our sentence. So that is why we can use who. Again, we could change this around if we wanted to go with that, which is another option. We could say buildings that aren't built of wood don't look as nice. Here we can see that buildings is our subject, and that is right next to it. So that, which is talking about certain types of buildings, equals our subject. So that's how it works. You've gone in with your subject, children, buildings, and you've got your pronoun and you've got your relative pronoun that is talking about that. Okay, it's linking to it. So children who, buildings that, pizzas that, people who, for example. So that is why it is important to know. Next thing, if I were to write this one over here, okay? I'm going to give you another example. I'm going to write this. An elephant is an animal that lives in hot countries. Now, as you can see, that is now being placed in a different location. I'm talking about an animal, and in this case, it's an object of my sentence because an elephant is my subject. So elephant is my subject. Is my subject. Plus is because that's what the verb is. And then we're talking about an animal. So an animal is going to be my object. And what I've done is I've added that. So that is linked to my object. Okay. So I think that is going to begin to make a little bit more sense. There's a reason why we do this, and we're going to get to that. So let's have a little activity. I'm going to write down some sentences, and what you need to do is you need to tell me if the relative pronoun is the subject or is it talking about the object. And that's really important. Is the relative pronoun talking about the subject or the object of the sentence? This is why it's important to know meaning. So let's look at the first one, A. A. People who talk on the phone while driving are dangerous. B. Let's go. So for B, C. D. So C, the building that was on fire had to be pulled down. And let's go for one more. Okay. So let's see what you guys do. A, B, C, D. A, people who talk on the phone while driving are dangerous. Is this who talking about the subject or the object? B, I saw a tiger that lives in the woods. Is that talking about the subject or is it talking about the object? C, the building that was on fire had to be pulled down. Is this talking about the subject or is it talking about the object? D, I loved that restaurant where we went last week. Now you've got two things here. You've got I loved that restaurant where we went last week. For D, I would like you to concentrate on where, because we've already done that a couple of times. So for D, please concentrate on where. E, the reason why I came here today is not important. So we're focusing on why. Roberto says that A is subject, B is object, C is subject, D is object, and E is object. Noelia says, okay, excellent. You've got the same answers, really. Well, if you guys agree with Roberto and Noelia, let me know in the live chat section. Do you agree with them? And if you do, excellent. Because at first, when you first look at this, you might think to yourself, oh my gosh, this is going to be difficult. And at first, it might look like that. But once you understand what you are doing, it then becomes much, much easier. Because we're thinking about, we're asking this question, is the relative pronoun talking about the subject, or is it talking about the object in this case? Because these two are the most important ones. And then we'll get on to asking the question, well, what is a defining relative clause? Because it is important. Leondina, you have the exact same answers. Okay, so let's see what the answers are. Alida says, sorry, I missed the explanation about the difference between subject and object. Not to worry, Alida. I'm going to go through the answers now, and I will repeat that. Evelina says A is subject, B is object, C is subject, D is object, and E is object. Well done, Evelina. Just be careful of your spelling of subject. So answers. Okay, A. Now A is going to, we have here people who, okay? So because people who, this is at the start of our sentence, and because it comes at the start of our sentence, it's talking about the subject. So A is subject, comes at the start. B, when we look at it, we've got, I saw a tiger that lives in the woods, okay? Tiger is the object of our sentence, which is why in this case, tiger that, we've got tiger that lives in the woods. Tiger is our object, which is why this is object, okay? We've already started off with our subject because in this sentence, I is the subject, tiger is the object, and that is talking about the object. See, the building that, again, the building that, this comes at the start of our sentence, and because it comes at the start of our sentence, this is referring to the subject, the building that. B. Here we've got, I loved that restaurant where we went last week. Now, restaurant, as we can see, is the object, okay? So restaurant. Restaurant where. This is the object of our sentence. And finally, E, the reason why. The reason why. Well, if it's a reason, we know it's going to be an object because it can't be, it's not going to end, it's not going to be the subject in this case. So the reason why. Reason why, and there we have the object. It goes on to the object of our sentence. Okay. Now that we've done that, excellent. Well done, guys. You got all of that correct. So we can now move on to the next bit, which is defining relative clauses, okay? What are we doing with a defining relative clause? Well, what we're doing here is this, because you've got defining and you've got the opposite, which is non-defining. Well, when we go with a defining relative clause, and I'm going to go with, well, I'm talking about food here, really, because I think food and wine is a good, or food and drink is a good example. So if we go with the wine we drank last week, the wine we drank last week where we Met was great. Okay, let's take this sentence. The wine we drank last week where we met was great. Okay. Now here I've gone in for with where. So we know that here where is talking about the object of the sentence. Okay. Just to give you another example of what we could be talking about here, we could go with I really enjoyed the dinner. Where we had say Napoli pizza. I'm going with where here as the relative pronoun. But what are we doing? In a defining relative clause, okay, we are adding extra and necessary information. We're adding extra and necessary information. Necessary is important. You are adding extra information and it is necessary information. Why? Because it's adding to the meaning. It adds more, it it provides more context. It helps others to understand who or what we are talking about, which is why we need this. So let's go for it. Let's see if we can let's see if we can complete this next task. We need to try and complete these defining relative clauses. Let's see what you guys do. So we've got A. What I want you guys to do here is you need to choose the correct relative pronoun. B. C. And let's go for one more. D. Okay, guys, let's see what you guys are going to do. We've got A, B, C, D. You need to choose the correct relative pronoun. I'm going to leave that to you, and then you guys can tell me. And then we'll get into a nice conversation as well. But the point is that we'll then have a good idea what we're supposed to be doing. So the waiter something showed us to our table, never came back. B, the doctor blank I went to didn't know what was wrong. C, I tried the food blank was amazing. D, we finished class. The teacher finally let us go. So let's see what you guys think. Alida says A is who, so the waiter who showed us to our table. B, you've gone for who again. The doctor who I went to didn't know what was wrong. You've also put down an option of that. The doctor that I went to. Okay. C, I tried the food, which was amazing. And D, we finished class when. Okay, let's see. Noella says the waiter that showed us to the table. The waiter who, sorry, the doctor who. Brackets where, the doctor where I went to. Is a doctor a place or a person? That's what you need to think about there. You've got for C, I tried the food, which was good, and D, we finished class when the teacher finally let us go. Leandino, who, that, which, when, and Yuli, who, which, when. Evelina, who, which, and when. Okay, let's see what the answers are. Okay, so A. For A, look, you could put down either who or that. My preferred option would be who. Thank you very much, Roberta. Well, Roberta, we can't use whom because whom is used for the object of the sentence, not the subject of the sentence. And in this case, the doctor is still the subject. The doctor is still the subject. Remember, whom can only be used as an object, not a subject. So, B, again, you've got the same options, who or that. Personally, I would encourage you to go with who. C, I tried the food, yep, which was amazing. And D, we finished class when the teacher let us go. So, excellent. Well done, guys. That was very good. Now, this is the next challenge. And the next challenge really is trying to make sure that we add the correct extra information. So let's see how we can do this on YouTube in the live chat, because it is a little bit harder. What I'd like you guys to do here is, and then we can create some questions out of this. We're going to go for food and drink as our subject. Let's see how this goes. You need to complete the sentence. So, 1. So, how does this work? As you can see, the cocktail, something for us was delicious. Okay, so the cocktail, in this case, the cocktail that was made for us was delicious. Okay, so as you can see, you needed to think here about the pronoun, and then you needed to think about a verb. It happens to be a passive. So let's see how you guys do. Okay, so that was this first sentence. That was the example. Let's go into it. 3. Let's go for one more. Let's see. Okay, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4. You need to think about the verb, and then that will take you all the way. You've got food and drink as your topic. So we have the example in one. The cocktail blank was blank for us was delicious. The answer, the cocktail that was made for us was delicious. 2, the drive. That should be the driver, actually. The driver, yes, correct. The driver, I just realized I didn't, but yes, you are correct there, Alida. It's meant to be the driver for number 2. Who collected us? Okay. For 3, you've gone with that had. For when radiated? Graduated. Okay, very good. Yes, thank you, Alida. Noella has gone for who collected, which had, when graduated. Leondino, who collected, that had, and for when you graduated. Okay, well, all of you are coming up with very similar answers. I'll give you guys just a little bit more time if anyone else would like to come in. Excellent stuff here. So 2, the driver who collected us from the airport was not nice. 3, the pizza we had last night, which had the goat's cheese, was delicious. Yuli has gone with who collected, that had, and graduated. And Roberto said, I remember the bottle of wine we opened when you graduated from uni. So some really good answers here. Let's see what the answers actually are. So A, sorry, not A, sorry, 2. Okay, so the driver, in this case, the driver who collected us. Noella says, is there any difference between that and which? It depends. If it's going to be the subject of your sentence, typically we're going to go with that. If it's going to be the object of your sentence, it could be either that or which. The differences between, well, actually, no, because we can also use which as the subject. So the answer is the difference isn't very obvious. Let's put it that way. There's not really a difference. What I would say is, Noella, think about your subject or your object. So because you can use that or which for your subject, if it's okay, there's one important difference there actually. We can use that for who, for a person. We cannot use which for a person. And that's a good rule to have. So there's not much difference, but which is always going to be the one we go with. Well, which is the one we're going to go with, perhaps if it's a thing, but we can also use that. But if it's a person, we can't use which. we have the option of who or that. So I'm guessing that's the answer there, okay? If it's a person, who or that. If it's a thing, which or that, okay? So that is more, if in doubt, if you don't know, go with that because it's the better one of the two. So yes, number 2 is the driver who collected us. Number 3, we've got the pizza we had last night, which had the goat's cheese. Yes, which had the goat's cheese. Which had the goat's cheese. Very good. And finally, 4, when you graduated. So well done there, by the way, guys. Good stuff. Well done. So, guys, you got all of these answers correct, which is excellent stuff. So, what have we looked at? Well, did we develop fluency? Probably we didn't get round to developing fluency, but we did develop accuracy. So, I know that there's quite a lot of people watching, especially from the intermediate classes at the moment, because it is something you're looking at this week. But let's just see if you guys have made. Let's see if you guys what your guys what let's see what your answers are for the final questions, okay? um a Just Ram says hi everyone. Hi, Just, welcome to channel. If this is your first time, make sure you subscribe. So if I talk about the subject, what are my options? B, if I talk about the object, what are my options? C, true or false? Actually, which sentence is true? 1 or 2? Sentence 1, defining relative clauses do not add extra necessary information, or 2, defining relative clauses add extra necessary information. So let's see what your answers are there. So A, if I talk about the subject, what are my options? This is talking about relative clauses. So can I use who? Can I use that? Can I use whom? I don't know. You tell me. Well, of course I do know, but you tell me. B, if I talk about the object, what are my options? Can I bring in things like why, for example? And finally, C, which sentence is true, 1 or 2? Defining relative clauses do not add extra necessary information, or 2, defining relative clauses add extra necessary information. Leondina says A, you've got options such as who, which, that. B, you've got options who, that. I think that's meant to be which, maybe. Where, whom, and why. And for C, it's option 2. Roberto has very similar answers. Alida, very good, very similar answers. Noella, who, that, and which. And for B, who, whom, that, which, where, when, why. And for the last one, it is true. Excellent. Well done, guys. Good. Okay. Well, I'm pretty pleased with these answers, if I'm going to be honest with you, because you guys are all correct, which tells me that we have achieved the objective of today's lesson. So just to confirm, guys, these are the official correct answers. So if it's A, yes. If it's a subject, I can go with who, that, and which. For answer B, I can go with who, whom, that, which, where, when, and why. Yuli, very good, excellent, well done. Those are the correct answers. And for C, yes, the correct answer is 2. So really well done there, guys. And that tells me that we've achieved our task for today's lesson. So if you enjoyed this video and you have found this video helpful, make sure you like the video and share as well. Like I said, this can be sometimes a bit of a difficult language structure, but once you've understood it, it becomes easier. And it's really important to know, because meaning can then be lost. If you don't know it, you can get lost in terms of what the person is talking about. Noella says, thank you, Richie. This lesson has been really helpful. You're welcome, Noella. I'm glad it was. Alida says, thanks, Richard. See you soon. You're welcome, Alida. See you soon. Arena F, thanks, Richard. Have a good evening. You too, Arena F. And Evelina, thanks. See you soon as well. To everyone who participated in today's lesson, such as Evelina, Arena F, Alida, Noella, Roberto, Yuli, Leondina, just hello, and anyone else who participated, because quite a few people participated in today's lesson, which has been excellent. Thank you very much. Leondina says, it has been a useful lesson. Definitely. Thank you, Richard. You're welcome. Roberto, thanks, Richie. Take care. You too. So, guys, I'll be back tomorrow with another live lesson at 3 o'clock. So make sure you join me for that lesson. Have a really good evening, and I will see you soon. Just says, is that all? End yet? I'm afraid yes. It's only 45 minutes, these live YouTube lessons. But thank you very much. Hope to see you again on the channel. Make sure you subscribe if this is your first time and like the video. Yuli says, thank you, Richard. See you tomorrow. You too. Well, guys, see you guys tomorrow. Take care and bye for now.